If you're planning to visit Bryce Canyon National Park and have already started planning, then you've discovered that although it's not a huge park, there's a lot that goes into planning a trip there. If you're looking for tips for Bryce Canyon National Park, then you're in the right place. In today's episode, we're going to look at Bryce Canyon tips and tricks. Hi, I'm James Ian, and I've written numerous guides about Bryce Canyon National Park and several itineraries. And in today's Bryce Canyon National Park travel guide, I'm going to share with you my top 10 tips for visiting Bryce Canyon National Park. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe now. If you're watching or listening somewhere else, please follow my podcast to get the episodes as they come out. Following these tips will help give you guidance on what to do and will help give you the peace of mind of knowing exactly what to do when you're planning your trip there and not missing out on something or wasting precious time or getting caught unawares. Be sure to stay to the end. I'll be sharing my number one tip. It's especially helpful in the summer, so be sure to stay to the end for that. Let's get into it.
Welcome to National Parks Collecting with James Ian, the national park expert. He is here to help you have the best national parks trips ever. Get tips, discover hidden gems, and learn all you need to know. This is your path to collecting national parks experiences, memories, and maybe even a stamp or two.
So what are my top tips for when you're going to visit Bryce Canyon National Park? Remember to stay to the end where I'll be sharing my number one tip that everybody should know. My first tip for visiting Bryce Canyon is to start your day early. Getting an early start in Bryce Canyon National Park is by far the best way to experience the park's beauty without the crowds. The soft morning light offers a really magical glow on the hoodoos, and the cooler temperatures also make for perfect hiking conditions. Plus, you'll find that parking is much easier, and you can enjoy the silence and the solitude that comes with being one of the first people on the trails. Additionally, starting early helps you avoid the midday heat in the summer, which can be kind of intense. This is particularly important if you're planning to hike, as the higher elevation means that the sun rays are stronger here than at lower altitudes. I kind of like to get there just before sunrise, see the sunrise from Sunrise Point or Sunset Point, and then hike down into the canyon, then have lunch at the lodge, and then do something else in the afternoon, it's a scenic drive or another hike. Tip number 2, a tip for Bryce Canyon if your time is short in the national park is to focus on the Bryce Amphitheater area. I actually recommend at least 2 days in Bryce Canyon National Park, especially if you like to hike. But if your time is more limited, you'll make the most of your time by heading straight to the Bryce Amphitheater. This is a natural kind of bowl-shaped amphitheater, and it's the main part of the park. It's where you'll find the most dense and iconic collection of hoodoos in the park. The famous viewpoints here are Sunrise Point, Sunset Point, Inspiration Point, and Bryce Point. And all of them offer stunning, expansive views that are easy to access and perfect for those who just want to experience the park's grandeur without venturing too far from the main area. The amphitheater is also the starting point for several really amazing trails that descend down into the canyon that give you up close look at all of the intricate rock formations. If you've only got a few hours to spare, this part of the park will give you plenty of photo opportunities and will give you the most intense Bryce Canyon experience. Okay, so what's the number 3 Bryce Canyon tip? A great tip for Bryce Canyon National Park is to take the Scenic Drive. If you have a little bit more time, Bryce Canyon's 18-mile Scenic Drive is a must-do. It offers access to the park's higher elevation areas and a series of viewpoints, each more breathtaking than the last. I recommend driving the full length of the road without stopping right to Rainbow Point, which is at the far end. It's the highest part of the park. And get out, enjoy the area. There's a couple of viewpoints at Rainbow Point and a nice short hike. And then drive back and stop at the various viewpoints on the way back. That's because the viewpoints are on the right side of the road if you're heading back, so that you don't need to cross the road. It's much safer. Each stop presents a new perspective of the park's unique geological features, and totally worthwhile stopping at every single stop along the way. Be sure to only stop at the turnouts. You can't really access the views anyway anywhere else, but this is much safer. And also consider maybe taking a picnic. There are designated areas at a couple of the viewpoints where you can enjoy a picnic and the views at the same time. We're looking at things to know before you go to Bryce Canyon. What's number 4? A tip for Bryce Canyon is to hike the park's trails. If you have the time and the mobility, hiking among the hoodoos is magical. There's a variety of trails that cater to all different levels of hikers. Two of the most popular are the Navajo Loop and the Queen's Garden trails. These trails take you down from the main amphitheater and they allow you to wander around the towering hoodoos and allow you to experience the park's surreal landscape up close. The Navajo Loop has two different sides. Both of them have a series of steep switchbacks. The most famous, the steepest, is the Wall Street section. The trail runs between sheer cliffs. It's very cool to do. The other side is the Two Bridges side that has a close-up view of Thor's Hammer, which is one of the most famous hoodoos in the park. I also recommend that. And the Queen's Garden Trail is the least difficult path down into the canyon and offers a look at lots of whimsical rock formations in the area known as Queen's Garden, including a hoodoo that looks like a statue of Queen Victoria that gives the garden its name. You can actually combine the hike down into Queen's Garden and then hike up one side of the Navajo Loop. You can either hike up the Wall Street side or up the Two Bridges side of that loop, and I highly recommend that if you can. We're almost halfway through. Tip number 5. Something I really recommend that you do when you visit Bryce Canyon National Park is to use the free shuttle service. Bryce Canyon's free shuttle service is just a really convenient way to explore the main part of the park without the hassle of parking and driving. The shuttle runs along a route that stops at the most popular viewpoints in the Bryce Amphitheater section of the park and the trails in that section too, making it easy to hop on and off as you please. By using the shuttle, you can help obviously reduce traffic congestion and minimize the environmental impact on the park. The shuttle service typically runs from mid-spring through the fall. You can check up the current timetable, pick up a map, and plan your route to make the most of this service at the visitor center. It's an efficient, eco-friendly way to enjoy the park. It doesn't, however, run to the Scenic Drive. To do that, you do need your own vehicle. It also doesn't go to Fairyland Point or the start of that trail. Before we look at my other Bryce Canyon tips, if you're watching this on my @National Parks Collecting YouTube channel and you haven't already, please like and subscribe below. What's another top thing that visitors to Bryce Canyon National Park must not miss? You should definitely get up early and watch the sunrise or stay a little later and watch the sunset, or both. One of the most breathtaking experiences, in my opinion, is watching the sunrise or the sunset paint the hoodoos with vibrant colors with that really soft morning light. It's just really beautiful. The natural amphitheater's orientation makes it perfect for the sun's daily show, casting really dynamic shadows and illuminating the rock spires in orange and pink and red. It's just really nice. Sunrise Point and Sunset Point are actually named for these events, but almost any high vantage point along the rim is totally fine, and you can actually see the sunrise from Sunset Point as well. For the sunrise, I recommend getting there early. Sunrise Point can get a little bit crowded, but you can get a really good spot, and it's just really nice to watch the darkness fade as the day begins. And I always say quite a bit after the sun actually rises, because that's when the colors go really nice in the sky, and you can watch the soft light move across the hoodoos. It's really nice. And then I like to then go to the nearby lodge and have breakfast, and then set out on my hike after breakfast. What else? Tip number 7. Something that many people don't do, but is definitely worthwhile when you get to Bryce Canyon National Park, is to explore the park's night skies by participating in a ranger-led astronomy program. Bryce Canyon is a haven or a heaven for stargazers. The park is actually recognized for its exceptionally dark skies. It's officially a designated International Dark Sky Place, which means that it's an ideal spot for astronomy. The lack of light pollution means that you can see thousands and thousands of stars with your naked eye, including the Milky Way that sort of stretches into the sky. It's very beautiful. You can see it by yourself, of course, from the rim, but if you participate in the ranger-led programs, then you can learn more about the constellations and the planets and the science of the cosmos. These programs also often include telescope viewing, so you can see things more up close, which is very cool. So just check the park schedule for nighttime events. They also have full moon hikes, and special astronomy presentations. So if you're there when they're offering them, I highly recommend them. I do recommend also to dress warmly, even in the summer. The high elevation, the nights can get kind of cool. Tip number 8. When you visit Bryce Canyon National Park, I really recommend that you visit the lesser known overlooks and trails if you have the time, in addition to the really famous ones. Bryce Canyon's main attractions are the Bryce Amphitheater and the Scenic Drive, of course, but I think there's a special magic to the lesser known spots, and it's kind of nice to get away from the crowds too. So for a more solitary experience, if you venture to the overlooks and the trails that are off to the beaten path, kind of nice. One is Fairyland Point, which is one of my favorite views in the park. It offers stunning views with a much quieter atmosphere. The parking lot there isn't huge, so although it is off the beaten path, even so, it can fill up, so I like to go there early in the morning. Similarly, trails like the Fairyland Loop that leaves from Fairyland Point, such a great hike. It's kind of long, it's a little up and down, but it's just amazing. There's also the Peekaboo Loop that is around the main Bryce Amphitheater area, but it's less crowded than the Queen's Garden and the Navajo Loops trails, and it's super cool. If you've got the time, I really think that getting these different perspectives of the park and perhaps finding a moment of peace away from the main tourist spots is totally worth it. So far, we've looked at 8 tips for Bryce Canyon. We have 2 more to go. Stay to the end to hear my top tip in just a moment. But first, my second last tip. You'll have seen by now that there's a lot that goes into planning a trip to Bryce Canyon National Park. There are several sections, including the Bryce Amphitheater. There's the Scenic Drive. There's also some lesser known areas. So there's just a lot to see and do, even though it's quite a small park, and it can get crowded. So timing is key, and it can be difficult to know exactly what to do and when. The number one thing that people ask me about is how to put everything together into an actual itinerary. They worry that they'll miss something cool. They'll worry that they'll be somewhere when everybody else is there at the same time. Some of them are traveling with their family who have different ideas of what they want to do and different mobility levels, and they stress about keeping everybody happy. So if you're looking to maximize your time in Bryce Canyon National Park without all of that stress of planning, purchasing a detailed itinerary can be extremely beneficial. To help with this, I created super detailed itineraries for Bryce Canyon. Just click on a link in the notes below and it will take you to a page that explains everything in more detail. But there's basically an hour-by-hour breakdown of activities that are tailored to various fitness levels and interests. There's lots of different tips and tricks and hike descriptions and driving directions and shuttle stop information. Everything is timed very specifically to be in the best places at the best time. They'll help take away the overwhelm and just give you all the information that you need in one spot so that you don't need to worry about missing out on any of the highlights of the park or stress about how to put everything together that you want to do into a schedule that makes the most sense. Just follow the link in the show notes below. Now, as promised, what's my number one tip for Bryce Canyon National Park? My number one tip for Bryce Canyon National Park is to be prepared for sudden weather changes. Bryce Canyon is at a high altitude and the weather can be really unpredictable, and sudden changes are common. You might start your hike under a clear blue sky and then find yourself in the middle of a rain or snow shower an hour later. So always check the weather forecast before you head out, but even if you do, be prepared for it to change without much warning. I was there in August and I hiked in the morning. It was clear skies, not a cloud in the sky, blue, warm. It was really lovely. I had lunch and then I set out on another hike in the afternoon and suddenly the clouds rolled in. And before I knew it, I was caught in this really full-on hailstorm with hail the size of pea and marbles. And I was not prepared for it. So I learned that the hard way. Be prepared for anything at any time. And I spoke to a ranger later, and they said it was actually very common for these hailstorms to blow in the summer particularly. So always be prepared. Dressing in layers is a great strategy, particularly for the cold and the wet. Always have some moisture-wicking materials in your base layers, have a waterproof jacket, and I now take an umbrella just to protect myself from the hail if it happens again. All I had was a very thin hat that wasn't much protection against hail on my head. If you want help planning your trip, check the links in the description below. There's plenty of booking and planning resources there to help you plan and book your trip. And keep watching my videos to get even more help so that you can have the best national parks vacation ever. And if you want to get notified about the next episode, subscribe and click below.